Okay, so let's start. Today we will talk about heat equation. That means the equations of this form ut minus Laplace of u is equal to 0. It may be in a bounded domain or maybe in whole Rn. And also we'll talk about the non-homogeneous heat equation, means ut minus Laplace of u is equal to f, where f is a function of time and space, t and x. Okay. So in general, T lies from R plus and X is in Rn. Okay. So these are the heat equations. Ut minus Laplace is equal to 0, and this is non-homogeneous equation ut minus Laplace is equal to 0. So we want to study again whether this problem has a solutions or not. Okay. Or if solution exists, whether it is unique or not, and what are the properties of the solutions and so on. Like in your Laplace equations, we also try to deduce so-called the maximum principle there. We have seen that by using maximum principle, we have shown the uniqueness for the solutions. We don't know whether solution exists or not, but what we are saying that if solution exists, then it will be unique. So in that case, actually it is for the bounded domain case. So here also we try to talk about the bounded domain case. Now since T is involved, now you will see that it should be kind of cylinder kind of things. Okay, the domain is kind of cylinder thing, because if you subset omega is a subset of Rn, then I have omega cross 0 to capital T or cross capital T and so on. So that we try to write down as the omega T. So this is my domain now, omega of T and so on. Okay. So whether we'll talk about the maximum principles for that, like in your Laplace equations and so on. Okay. So this is the goal. And then already in Laplace equation we have deduced so-called the fundamental solutions, and using the fundamental solutions we have to, for the non-homogeneous problem, we have considered the solutions for the non-homogeneous problem using the fundamental solution. Here also we try to deduce the fundamental solution, and then we have seen that if you look at the convolutions with respect to something, then it solves your corresponding heat equation and so on. So we want to study these heat equations, but with appropriate, say, initial or boundary conditions. Okay. Okay. So whenever I am considering this omega, so it is open and bounded domain in Rn with, say, smooth boundary. Okay, or C1 boundary. Okay. So before going further, just look at that. Suppose my U is a smooth solution to this problem. U, which is a smooth solution of this equation, ut minus Laplace u is equal to 0 in, say, Rn cross 0 infinity. Okay, forget about your initial or boundary conditions, just the equation ut minus Laplace t. Then if I define my V of xt, if I define, so this is x dot d of u plus 2t u of t, because now I'm considering x is in Rn, so this is a vector, d of u is an eigenvector, so that gives you scalar. So v of xt and then 2 times t of ut again solves my heat equation. Solves the heat equation Vt minus Laplace of v is equal to 0 in Rn cross 0 infinity. Okay, it is nothing but because I am saying that U is a smooth solution.
So here x dot, what is written, x dot?
No. This is x is a vector, no? X is equal to x1 up to x of n.
Yes, sir.
Okay. D of u is nothing but u of x1, u of xn. Okay. So x dot d of u, this is a vector product.
Okay.
Okay. Because this is kind of, you can think, gradient of u. D of u, this is the gradient of u. And so you can write down that part. Okay. In one-dimensional case, it is just the product, no problem. For in Rn, in general, for the domain in Rn, so it is a vector product. Okay, so now we check because U is differentiable, so and it is smooth. So basically, you can change the mixed derivative and so on. Actually, you can change it so that one can easily show that Vt minus Laplace V is equal to 0 in Rn cos 0 infinity. Okay. So as I said that I try to deduce so-called the fundamental solution. So for the Laplace case, what we have done it, okay, we are looking for the radial solutions, basically U of x is equal to V of R, where mod x is equal to R, and then we have seen that V satisfies your second order differential equations, and then solving that second order differential equation, you get the fundamental solution for Laplace equations. So in this case, there are two methodology. One can also look at that. Okay, if you means basically this heat equation, it is kind of scaling invariant under appropriate scaling. Okay, so then using that scaling invariant, one can find out again the differential equations and solving that problem, one can get it. But here I am trying to give you a little different method, that is using called the Fourier transform. So maybe you are familiar with this. So what it says that, so suppose f is in my ln of Rn. ln of Rn means basically integral over Rn f of x dx is finite. Okay, all those f such that this is my ln of Rn set. Okay, so for f is in ln of Rn, I can talk about the Fourier transform of f that I denote by f hat. So by definitions, f hat zeta, which is the Fourier transform of f, this is integral over Rn e to the power minus 2 pi I x dot zeta, because again zeta and x are using from Rn, so it is a vector product, and then f of x d of x. Okay, so I is that is root of minus 1. So f zeta, I have this Fourier transformation. Okay, I will not going into more details on Fourier transform, because for that you need many classes and so on. Different. I just try to use certain properties and then the definitions of for that. So since I have a Fourier transform, I can talk about also the so-called the inverse Fourier transform. So inverse Fourier transform I denote by f hat. Okay, that ulta hat. So this f hat I can think of f hat of zeta. This is integral over Rn e to the power 2 pi I x dot zeta, because I have minus term. Now I have this part. Then I have f of x of d of x. This is the inverse Fourier transform of f. So the following property holds for this Fourier transform. You can easily check that. Okay, for simplicity, you just consider n is equal to 1. Then actually, because you are familiar with that, and then it will be easier to calculate. So you see that f Fourier transform at point minus of zeta. Okay, so if you put at minus of zeta here, then this is minus minus plus. So this is exactly your the inverse Fourier transform. So f hat of minus zeta is equal to f of ulta hat of zeta. Okay, or the inverse Fourier transform at the point zeta. These are the easy property, means you can just look at from the definitions. And another is that, so that if you consider the convolutions of two, because we know that if f and g are L1, even we don't need the L1, locally integrable is enough, then we can talk about the convolution. Is it not? So what it says that if you consider the convolution, if this is the convolution sums g, and then again if you consider the Fourier transform of that, So then this is nothing but the product of your Fourier transform. So this is f hat and g hat. So f convolutional g of hat at zeta, this is f hat of zeta, g hat of zeta. This is one important properties of Fourier transform and convolution. And another is that what about if you consider suppose d alpha f, okay? So you know this multi indices we consider, okay? So it is the derivative up to order alpha. And so for that, what I need that d alpha f should be my L1 of Rn. So suppose I have a good function f such that d alpha f is in say L1 of Rn, and then I want to take the Fourier transform of this d alpha object. So what it says that this is nothing but it should be 2 pi I zeta to the power alpha and then f hat of zeta. Okay, so these are the one important property. As I said that you just consider alpha is equal to maybe 1 and then in a one dimensional, then you will get it that part. Okay, and what about the things I can talk about that some important property I will also consider for some particular function. So if you consider say f of x, which is say e to the power minus pi a of mod of x square, and then no, this is integrable and so on. It is L1, no, because it is minus, so the exponential negative exponential growth. So this should be in L1 because after certain time actually it goes to 0. So integrability is no problem. So then what will be your f hat of zeta? This should be nothing but a to the power minus n by 2 to the power minus pi of mod zeta square by a. Okay, just check it for n is equal to 1 case, then actually you can get it. And for arbitrary n, since the exponential is there, no, and x square actually you can write down summation over x square, and then it should be product of that because of the e to the power function, it should be product of that. Okay, so you try to check it for n-dimensional case, but before that try to think of that this is true for one-dimensional case. For n is equal to 1, then f at zeta for these functions you have this part. Okay. Okay, so this property I will use it. We'll see that what happened. So now I try to derive the fundamental solution. That means I want to find a functions which would be again smooth on Rn cross say 0 infinity, such that it satisfies your Laplace the heat equation. Means you so P of t, if I denote as a P, then this will be Pt minus Laplace of t is equal to 0. You will see that why this is so. Now suppose my u solves my heat equation ut minus Laplace of u is equal to 0 in say Rn cos 0 infinity with initial conditions. I am giving u of x0 is equal to say g of x is in my R of n, and suppose it is means nice g and all these things are given to you. Okay, and it solves the maybe you can think of that u is smooth also, so that these things. So now if I try to take the Fourier transform in the x variable, okay, so then what I have, this is u hat t of say zeta t now. Okay, so if I denote my u of xt, so in the space actually I am writing first and then the time because Rn cos zeta in this fashion. So this is u hat of zeta t. Okay, actually this is ut of hat you are considering, then this should be u hat of dot t. Okay, this is again you just look at in a one dimensional case, and then if you look at the integration and so on, so then it is fine. Okay, so this one can check it. And then what I have, now I have to take the Fourier transform of Laplace u zeta. So now see, Laplace of u nothing but basically mod alpha is equal to 2. No, mod alpha is equal to 2. If I consider here, then what I have, so from there I have that 2 pi, so 4 pi square zeta square. So I have plus 4 of pi square zeta square, or means mod zeta, and then u hat of zeta t is equal to 0. Zeta is in your Rn, t is positive. And what about the initial condition? U hat of zeta 0 is equal to g hat of zeta. So zeta is in your Rn. So that means at least I need, since I have considered g here, so that means my g should be Ln. Okay, I need the Ln. So the initial function g, it should be Ln of Rn. Okay, so now you see that it is a differential equations of u hat. Okay, so it is a first order differential equation. So I know that how the solution looks like explicitly, because it is a IVP. So the OD can be solved explicitly by u hat of zeta t, because you just consider the integrating factor. In this case, then you have. So this is nothing but g hat of zeta, and then you have e to the power minus 4 of pi square mod zeta square times t, just from here. Okay, so now this one I try to write down, actually it is a product, and then I will take that convolutions of later on. So this one is g hat of zeta, and this part actually I can think of, this is 1 by 4 pi t to the power n by 2 e to the power minus mod x square by 4t whole to the power hat. Okay, at zeta. So this is my functions. Had if you just look at the previous functions, actually I choose it, that is coming from here. Okay, because this is a to the power minus n by 2, so a is equal to 4 pi t, then you have that part. Okay, this is a to the power a 4 pi t, so this is a pi square you have from there. So here actually, so I have my this part. Okay, this one is actually I'm writing down. So f hat z. Okay, so now this is a product of your Fourier transform, and what I know, then it should be actually convolution. So now g convolutions of 1 by 4 pi t to the power n by 2 e to the minus mod x square by 4t of hat at any zeta. So u hat of zeta t is equal to this part. So okay, so I missed one property from here. Another property of your things that first, if you consider say Fourier transform, and then if you consider the inverse Fourier transform, then it gives you your original function f. And this is same as if you consider first the inverse Fourier transform, and then if you consider the Fourier transform for that functions, then again it gives you the same function shape. Okay, so that is why that meaning inverse Fourier transform makes sense. It gives the identity. So if I just consider the inverse Fourier transform on the both hand side, what I have, that u of xt, that zeta should be replaced by xt. This should be g convolutions 1 by 4 pi t to the power n by 2 e to the power minus mod x square by 4 of t. Okay, so now if you just remember the heat equation, in the Laplace equations, we have fundamental solutions P, and then what we have seen that, okay, if you consider the initial conditions G, then the convolutions actually gives you your solution to that problem. Okay, so that means these things actually boils down to say that if I define the fundamental solution in this way, that is my definitions I am making. The function I consider P, which is a both function space and time, defined as so P of xt, which is by definition some consider 1 by 4 pi t to the power n by 2 e to the power minus mod x square by 4t. Okay, for x is in Rn, t is positive, and I can define for 0 x is in Rn and t is negative. Okay, so I can define on whole this thing. So this is called fundamental solution of the heat equation. So this is 1 by 4 pi t to the power n by 2 to the minus mod x square by 40, sometimes also called the heat kernel. Okay, this is also called the heat kernel. So you see, it is kind of in probability you have seen it, no? The person, sorry, that is the what I try to say. The following in the probability you have Gaussian process and so on, no? So from there actually the density looks like that. So in particular, if you look at integral over Rn, P of xt dt, P of xt dx, that is actually equal to 1 for t is positive. This is the heat kernel, and not only that, it is the density. So on whole Rn, this it gives you 1. Okay. Okay, so I'll just writing down the following properties of this function p. So you see that here it is radial in x variable, no? Because radial means basically it is depending on mod x. Okay, so one property is that p, this is radial in x variable. Another is that, as I told you, that if you integrate over Rn, then P of xt dx, because it's kind of no density for the Gaussian process, gives you 1. This holds for all t positive. Okay. And another important property that, see here actually near 0 it is a problem. So now if I consider delta to epsilon for delta is positive, then you see that looking at just this expression, it is really smooth. And not only that, because of negative exponential growth, it's all the derivative are uniformly bounded. Okay, all orders means all order derivative exist and uniformly bounded on Rn cos delta to infinity. Okay, because of the negative polynomial growth. So what I try to say that because this is only problem as t goes to 0, there it is a problem. Otherwise, it is all bounded. So what I'm saying that for each delta positive, p is infinitely differentiable with uniformly bounded derivatives of all order.
So what is meant by uniformly bounded?
Huh?
What is meant by?
Uniformly bounded means it does not depend on your x. No, so if for each x it may be bounded because it's time and space. Uniformly bounded means basically it does not depend on your x in an explicit way, like uniform continuity you have. Okay, because it is derivative, no, space and time I have.
Okay, sir.
Okay, space and time I have. So it is not only that, actually the derivative also convergence uniformly also. Okay, there I need to mean what do you mean convergence here, because there is no n kind of things here. Okay, n is dimension, this n is fixed, that n is fixed. Okay, but you see from here that if you look at any derivative for this problem, even with respect to time and space and all these things, because of this exponential means negative exponential growth and all these things, so that is actually bounded. Okay, uniformly bounded means for all t and x, because it is both space and time is there. No, it may be bounded with respect to x, may not be bounded with respect to t, and so on. So uniformly means basically, since it is two variable case I have. Okay. Okay, so moreover, what it says that just looking at our the derivation, so P actually satisfies your heat equation. So P solves the heat equation ut minus Laplace u is equal to 0 in Rn cos R minus singleton 0. Okay, because only problem is in a 0 point and so on. So this is the case. What it says that for our purpose, actually, this is Rn cos t is positive. Is it not? Okay. So now, as I said that you are interested in these things, ut, just I started it, ut minus Laplace is equal to 0, u of x0 is equal to g of x. Okay, x is in Rn and this is in Rn cos 0 to infinity. Whether I can find a solution to this problem or not, and the answer is yes. So for that, what I need is the following, that I am written as a theorem form. So let G is in continuous on Ra and bounded. I am considering the boundedness. Then the function I am defining by u of xt, just looking at the things, the convolution integral over Rn, this is p over x minus y, convolution with respect to x over t g of y dy. No, this is the convolution with respect to x convolution. This solves my heat equation. Then the function u satisfies the following. In particular, it solves the heat equation. So u is C infinity, as I say that phi is smooth functions and so on. So because of the property of convolutions, you don't need that g should be smooth and all these things. So you can throw derivative only phi. That already I have told you in the previous class also. So u is in C infinity in Rn cos 0 to infinity. So only problem is in the 0. So no problem. And not only that, it satisfies this equation ut minus Laplace of u is equal to 0 in Rn cos 0 infinity. And third property I can think of, that limit xt goes to say y of 0, okay, from t is positive of u xt, this is gives my g of y. So y is in my Rn. So what it says that this is your y. Okay. So now I try to look at, think of y at 0, and then I am looking for xt that goes to y of 0 for any y of 0. So I am looking for that t. So along that t, actually u of xt, that the limit gives you g of y. That is somehow fine. That means actually it satisfies your heat equation or the initial value problem. Okay. So if my g is in bounded continuous functions, and then if you look at ut minus Laplace is equal to 0, u of x0 is equal to g of x, this problem has a solution. Not only that, it has a explicit solutions, which is given by your convolutions of G with respect to the fundamental solutions of heat equation. Okay. So proof is, as I said, that proof is simple. Something already we have done it how to do these things because everything is smooth and so on. So to check that u is infinity, as I said, that you just throw the derivative there and you can find out. And then also it's to satisfy these equations and look at the limit. So I'm not going into the proof, but step by step one can do it. Okay, because of the time constraint, I'm not able to do all these proofs and so on. Okay. So let us consider one example where we can use these formulations and so on. So what I'm saying that look at this equation ut minus Laplace u is equal to 0 in say R2 cos 0 infinity. For n is equal to 2, I am considering u of x0 is equal to gx. X is in R2. So now I have my property G, which is in CR2 intersection L infinity of R2, such that integral over R2 G of X mod of dx, this is finite. That means L1. Okay, that means this means basically G belongs to L1 of R2. Okay, so then my claim is that there exists a, so claim there exists a solution u of my this star such that it vanishes at infinity as t goes to infinity. That means limit t goes to infinity u of xt, this is 0 and this holds for all x. Okay, this holds for all x is in my R2. So what I'm saying that there exists a solution u which solves my heat equation in R2 where the initial function g, it is has some extra property that it is in L1, L infinity and continuous. So I need this C L2 C of R2 intersection L infinity. From there actually we have seen that this problem has a solution which is explicitly given by this form. No? Because of this condition, I know that u of xt, which is if I define it integral over Rn, so phi of x minus y comma t g of y dy, which is nothing but for n is equal to 2, what I have, this is 1 by 4 pi this is 1 by 4 pi t, because n is equal to 2, no, so n by 2 got cancelled out, integral over R2 then e to the power minus, that is x minus y square by 40, is it not? And then you have your g of y dy. So this is the explicit solutions, I know that, because so the solution to this star is given by this form. So here I have to check that limit t goes to infinity u of xt is equal to 0 for all x is in Rd. So for that, what I have to show that I have to check that given epsilon is positive, okay, so I can find some m is positive such that for all t is greater or equal to m, my u of xt should be less than epsilon for all x is in my R2 and for all t greater or equal to m. Is it not? Then we are done. Okay, let's see whether we can find such m. Okay, so that m may depend on your epsilon, no? Because given epsilon positive, I am trying to find my m. So now if you look at your explicit formulations for my solution uxt, then what is your ux mod t? This is less than equal to 1 by 4 pi of t integral over R2 e to the minus x minus y whole square by 40 times mod of gy dy. Is it no? I can put mod inside. Okay. So then what? Then this one I can think of is less than or equal to. So now e to the power minus of this thing, this is less equal to 1. So always I have 1 by 4 pi of t, then integral over r2 of mod of gy dy. So this one is finite, no? You just take, say this is something called a, this one only, if I define it. So then this is nothing but my a by 4 pi t. So you see that this aloneness is important here. So that means if I choose, so this should be epsilon, no? This should be epsilon, the u of xt less than epsilon. So that means this implies if I consider what will be my m, then if I choose m is equal to a by 4 pi epsilon, so a by 4 pi of epsilon. So if I choose m this thing, then for all t greater equal to m, mod of u xt should be less than epsilon for all x is in my R2. Okay, so it vanishes at infinity. This means u of xt convert this to 0 to 0. So just looking at the explicit solutions, we are able to do these things. Okay. Okay. So next we will talk about so-called the non-homogeneous problem. Okay. Non-homogeneous problem means basically I try to find out that Laplace ut minus Laplace u is equal to f I have. Okay, and then u is equal to say 0 now. I'm just considering the u is equal to 0 now. First, I try to find out on this is my Rn and this is Rn cos 0 to infinity. This is a kind of non-homogeneous problem. We are looking for whether this problem has a solutions or not. If this problem has a solutions, then is there existing explicit solutions or not? Okay, so we try to look at using again the fundamental solutions of heat equations. So now you observe that xt, this goes to phi of x minus y and t minus s. If my y and s is fixed, so if I consider 0 less than s less than t, okay, this is my fix, then xt goes to phi of x minus y t minus s. It actually solves your heat equation, is it not? So it solves your heat equation. So that means if I think of that u, xt and s I am defining for such fixed x, this is I am defining integral over Rn phi of x minus y t minus s and then f of y and s d of y. So then it should satisfy your heat equation, but the domain now are changing. So in particular, I can have ut dot s minus Laplace u. This is equal to 0 in Rn cos s to infinity now. Okay, and my initial condition u of dot s, this is actually equal to f of dot s on now Rn cos, this is t is equal to s in this case now, is it not? So I want to find out for the non-homogeneous problem, the solution to the non-homogeneous problem. So this is sometimes called the Duhamel's principle. Duhamel's principle says that how to construct or how to build a solutions of non-homogeneous equations out of this solution. Okay, so that is called the Duhamel's principle. So I'm just trying to write down this theorem for a Duhamel's principle. You can see that from it will be also clear. So now let A, which is my say CC21, this means it has a compact support. The first two is with respect to space variable and one is for the respect to time variable of Rn cos 0 infinity. It means C2 in space variable, C1 is in time variable, and it is has a compact support. Now I define, if I define u bar of x and t, which I am defining at 0 to t, u of x t to s d of s, where u x t s is defined by in this form, okay, which satisfies your this heat equation in a scaled form. The time is scaled now, okay. If you define your u bar xt, then you can say then u bar xt, it satisfies the following. So no, you can just observe it there that u bar should be c to 1 of Rn cos 0 infinity. Okay, u should be c2. Not only that, it will be again the smooth also. And secondly, that ut bar minus Laplace of u bar, that should be f in Rn cos now 0 to infinity. Okay. And not only that, if you look at the limit as x and t, this goes to say y of 0 for any means from right, and if you look at u bar of xt, this should be 0 for each y is in Rn. So in other words, u bar t satisfies this non-homogeneous heat equation with zero initial condition, u bar t xt in this form. Okay. So moreover, if you have space and time, then what I need one more convolutions, and then I need to add it, because now it gives you on the zero boundary conditions. So I have ut minus Laplace u is equal to a, u is equal to 0. So where it is given by in this form, no, u bar t xt is equal to 0 to u bar t xt dt, and from there this means this one is nothing but the convolution with respect to this one. So now again you have integral over 0 to t. So if I try to combine both things, that I try to write down as a theorem, again the proof is simple. So f is in cc to 1 Rn cross 0 infinity, g is in c Rn cos L infinity of Rn, that these conditions I required, no, previously already we have seen it. Then the function u xt I am defining. How I can write down? This is 0 to t integral over Rn phi of x minus y, then t minus s f of ys dy ds. Okay, so now if I just do these things, what it says that it satisfies your homogeneous equation zero boundary conditions. And now for the boundary conditions, what I need, sorry, for the initial boundary value problem, the zero initial value problem. But if I consider the initial condition should be my g, then I need one more, that should be integral over Rn phi of x minus y and then g of y dy, because I know that this also satisfy your heat equation. So overall the things is satisfy your heat equation. So in boundary this is 0, but this is in g, that's when in the boundary it is given by g. Is it not? Because this satisfy your heat equation with initial condition 0. This satisfies also your heat equation under these assumptions with initial condition g. That means, so now if you look at that ut minus Laplace u, is equal to this is equal to f and so on. So from there I have that it satisfies the non-homogeneous problem. Then you solve the non-homogeneous problem, which is ut minus Laplace u is equal to f in Rn cross 0 infinity u of x0 is equal to g of x is in my Rn. Okay, so this is called sometimes called the Duhamel's principle. Okay, so I need to write down maybe Duhamel's principle. Okay, here's the first guy who just looking at fundamental solutions and how to have explicit formulations for non-homogeneous problem. So that is why it is also named that Duhamel's principle. Okay, so let us consider one example where we can use this concept. What I try to write down is the following. So write down the explicit formula for a solution of the equation. It is not exactly heat equations we are talking about, but you will see that it can be reduced to ut minus Laplace u plus c of u is equal to f. This is in Rn cross 0 infinity, and u is equal to g on Rn, and say suppose c is constant. Okay, we try to find out this the explicit formulations for this problem. So idea is basically, see, this is again non-homogeneous equation, that is true, but so far whatever we have studied, there is no such kind of the first order term c of u. So then idea is, can I have some transformation such that it reduces to our known form? Known form means basically it may be non-homogeneous form, but in a known form. So in a non-homogeneous form, I know that I can have explicit formulations for my using the Duhamel's principle, and hence actually I can go back our transformations, and then I can get the solution, explicit solution for that. This is the idea. So here actually you check that because of this linearity and so on, what I can say that if I define my say v of xt, which is e to the power ct times u of xt. Okay, so I need to find the explicit formulation. That means suppose the problem has a solution for this problem and so on. Okay, so now I consider v of xt, which is my ct of uxt. So then you check that if my u solves my given PDE, then V solves the following PDE, which I can write down, because here you see that Vt, which is ut e to the power ct, means it just multiplied by these functions. Okay, from there. So then what you get is that Vt minus Laplace of V is equal to e to the power ct times f of xt. So you can think of this is sum my f tilde of xt. So now this is in known form, no? So V, if I use this transformation, then V solves my non-homogeneous PDE, and what is your V? That is actually is equal to 0, because t is equal to 0, g is equal to 0, so V is equal to g on Rn. So now this is exactly the whatever I had previously. I know that V has the explicit solution. So what is my V? I can write down V of xt. This should be integral over 0 to t integral over r of n. Okay, and then I have fundamental phi of x minus y t minus s, and then f tilde now. So this is should be f tilde or okay, f tilde of y and s, then dy ds, is it not? And then plus integral over Rn. So I have p of x minus y times p and then g of y, because same initial conditions I have, g of dy. So now if you just change it, this is same as 0 to t integral over Rn p of x minus y t minus s. F tilde is now e to the power t of s. Sorry, why I am putting t of s? Sorry. This is c of s, c of s. Then I have u of ys. Sorry, yu. This is f of ys dy ds plus integral over Rn p over x minus y comma t and then g of y d of y. So now this is the explicit solution for my b. This implies what is my u of xt is nothing but e to the power minus ct of vta. So then that means I can put it, because it is integral up to 0 to t. So this is nothing but integral over 0 to t integral over Rn p over x minus y t minus s. Now I have e to the power minus c of t minus s f of ys dy ds, and then plus integral over Rn p over x minus y comma t e to the minus ct g of y, or I can take out also g of y dy. So this is explicit solutions for your previous the problem we want to discuss it here. It is in a little different form, but I try to use the transformations. So if you looking at the problem, there is no hard rule that I have to use only this part. Just looking at the problem that okay, we may take some transformations so that it can reduces to our known form, and then for the known form I know that how to use use the explicit solution for that problem using the Duhamel's principle, and hence you got that result. Okay, so I'll stop now, and in the tomorrow is today's Friday timetable class. So we'll talk about again the mean value means maximum principle, mean value theorem, and then also I'll talk about the uniqueness and so on. Okay, and then certain properties. I'll stop now.